Well, the time is just gone 9:15 a.m. as we continue with the second half of this morning's edition of News and Views. And to remind you, this hour of News and Views is brought to you by Africa Muslims Agency. Now, I think many of us will recall the visit of Dr. Yusra Ghannouchi to South Africa, where we spoke about the incarceration and the imprisonment of her father, Sheikh Rached Ghannouchi. And yesterday we learned of the sentencing of Sheikh Rashid to life imprisonment in what is termed as a collective punishment for those who have wanted freedom in Tunisia. Now, we've seen the Muslim Brotherhood issue a statement as well, condemning these sentences as well, and again, reiterating what these decisions actually mean, because this goes against a man of stature in political Islamic thought, a veteran politician who reached the speakership of the parliament through the free will of the Tunisian people, and also at the same time looking at these severe sentences. Yeah, these are obviously, this is problematic, but also calling on the Tunisian authorities to reconsider these severe sentences that have been held out. Now we are obviously going to go across to be joined by the daughter of Sheikh Rached Ghannouchi, Dr. Yusra Ghannouchi. Dr. Yusra, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's wonderful connecting with you once again, and also at a very, very difficult time, because the last time you were in South Africa, we met in South Africa, we've had subsequent discussions as well. But again, this harsh life sentence that obviously has been issued by the court as well. How has this actually gone down? Was this expected?
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning to you and to all viewers. As you said, the sentences issued yesterday against my father and over 30 other defendants were very severe and shocking. At the same time, they're not completely surprising. As you know, this is not the first sentence against my father. My father, since his arrest in April 2023, more than 3 years ago, has been subjected to multiple politically motivated cases or fabricated charges. And he's been sentenced in, I believe, 5 cases to various sentences, adding up to, before the latest sentences, to over 70 years in prison. Now with the additional sentence issued yesterday, that now comes higher to over 106 years. This is separate from the life imprisonment sentence. So it's completely absurd. And what is more absurd is that for him and for other defendants, they have been given life sentences plus dozens of years of imprisonment, followed by 5 years of administrative supervision, which means that after they serve their life sentences, they are required to report to the police every day, which was something used against political prisoners in the past under previous dictatorships. So this is, pure madness. It shows clearly that there is no standard of fairness or even any common sense in the current Tunisian judiciary, and this is following it's being taken under control by the executive since the coup against Tunisian democracy in 2021, on the 25th of July 2021, after which all powers, there's no longer any separation of powers. All powers, the judiciary, the legislative and the judiciary, are all in the hands of the president, who is now using the judiciary to eliminate any opposition and to punish anyone who dares criticize him.
Dr. Yusra, I've already spoken about the reaction of the Muslim Brotherhood, the condemnation against this sentences that have been issued against your father and all the others as well. But just looking at the reaction that you've been getting as a family, what sort of reaction have you had until now?
There has been a heartwarming wave of solidarity expressed by public figures, by by various parties in Tunisia, the National Salvation Front, which brings together various parties and associations and figures that oppose the coup in Tunisia, by various organizations, for instance, Dawn, Democracy in the Arab World Now, the Arab Organization for Human Rights in the UK, Justice for Human Rights, and various human rights organizations that have condemned these absurd and unjust trials that are clearly political trials that lack the most basic standards of a fair trial. And I'd like to also point out that because of the absence of any justice in Tunisia, my father has been boycotting all the investigation and all the trials. These trials have taken place in the absence of any attendance from the media, from the families. They have taken place remotely. The authorities have insisted that the defendants themselves, even those who want to attend, because as I said, my father is boycotting these trials, are prevented from attending in person, and they must attend remotely. So clearly the authorities are using these trials to eliminate the opposition, and they do not want any scrutiny, whether it is by the media, human rights organizations, etc. And as you may know, Tunisia has suspended various civil society and human rights organizations, including the LTDH, which is the Tunisian League for the Defense of Human Rights. This is Africa's first human rights organization. It has been suspended recently by the authorities in Tunisia, also Lawyers Lawyers Without Borders, the Association of Young Lawyers, and various associations are being repressed and restricted and suspended and banned in Tunisia. So clearly it's not just my father or just politicians. This is the coup taken revenge against anyone who tried to, over the last 10 years since the revolution, try to build democracy in Tunisia and democratic institutions.
Yes, Dr. Yusra, we've seen the framing of the narrative by the court and justifying these lengthy sentences as forming a terrorist alliance. How does one actually respond to that?
These are the same ridiculous charges that have been used by successive dictators against any credible opposition to their dictatorship. This is not the first time my father has faced such charges. This is not the first time my father has received a life sentence. Some people might not know. This is the fourth life sentence. A similar life sentence, life imprisonment sentence was issued against him under Bourguiba, the late President Bourguiba, in 1987. And similarly under Ben Ali, the dictator who succeeded him. There were two other life sentences issued in the 90s against my father while he was in exile. And this is the fourth time under a new dictator who is trying to reimpose dictatorship on Tunisia. So these charges are clearly unfounded. There is no evidence. They don't even make any sense. So the claims of those who brought this case, which is not the actually the Justice Ministry or the prosecution in Tunisia, but this is a case that began in 2013 in Tunisia, blaming Ennahdha, which was part of a coalition government in Tunisia at the time after the revolution, blaming Ennahdha for responsibility for the political assassinations that took place in 2013. Which completely makes no sense, because these assassinations, which obviously are condemnable, had the clear aim of destabilizing the governments that Ennahdha was leading or part of at the time. So it makes no sense for Ennahdha to be involved in any way, in addition to the fact that Ennahdha is a peaceful democratic party that has nothing to do with the use of force or violence. So these rival parties that accused Ennahdha to settle political scores continue to raise these charges, and those who are behind the political assassinations of 2013 were arrested. They've been tried. The courts sentenced them. They're in prison, and there has never been any link established between them and anyone in Ennahdha leadership or even membership. However, after the coup, although this case had been closed and those involved had been sentenced, the case was reopened in 2022 by the same parties, reincarnating these ridiculous charges. And now that the judiciary had lost all independence and was being used as a tool by the president to eliminate the opposition, similar charges have been leveled at other parties as well. There are judges, lawyers, journalists who have been tried for similar charges, for forming a terrorist organization, for plotting against the state, for conspiracy against state security. This is not just from Ennahdha, from leftists, from liberal parties. And what brings all those together is the fact that they have stood against the dismantling of democracy in Tunisia.
Yes. Also, Dr. Yusra, you've mentioned the reaction from right across the board and globally as well. But in terms of reaction within Tunisia, what is some of the reaction been, or are people actually allowed to actually voice, their displeasure or their anger at these harsh sentences? What is happening in Tunisia itself?
As you know, there have been continuous protests in Tunisia, not only against the clear setbacks we have seen, the loss of guarantees for protection of freedoms, human rights, freedom of expression, etc. in Tunisia, these gains that were made after the revolution, but also against the deterioration in the economy, because Qais Said had used the difficulties in the economy to justify his coup and to convince a certain section of the population that democracy does not deliver, and that I must get rid of democracy, of parliament, of politicians, and then you will see improvements in the economy. What people have seen is that not only have we lost our freedoms and guarantees for human rights and democratic institutions, the economy has only got much worse. It has got to an unprecedented level in Tunisia, with the high deficit, increase in unemployment, the shortages of basic goods in Tunisia, medicines, etc., the high inflation. So we have seen continuous protests, despite the fact that there is a clear will to re-establish fear in Tunisia. And this is the aim of such absurd sentences, is to send a clear message to people that anyone who expresses their opinion, who expresses criticism, will be punished severely. But there are still, continuing protests. At the same time, there is growing repression, as I said, not only against politicians, against journalists, against bloggers, also including pro-Palestine activists. You may not have heard that some of the Gaza flotilla activists and some of the leaders of the pro-Palestine movement in Tunisia have also been imprisoned and prosecuted on flimsy charges. And this is because anything that is outside the control of the authorities is not allowed in Tunisia. Also, it's worth mentioning that as I said, there are there's no proof or evidence for these charges that we've seen in this case against my father and over 30 others. But one of the so-called pieces of evidence used that claims that Ennahdha had a secret apparatus that infiltrated the state, which makes no sense, because the government, Ennahdha was part of the government, and has no need for a secret apparatus, even if it had any such intentions. So one of the evidence used in this case is that the Ennahdha government had granted visas to Palestinian students to come and study in Tunisia, which gives you an idea of the absurd nature of this case.
Well, absurd in every sense of the word. Dr. Yusra, we're going to put you on hold. I need to just pay a few bills. We're going for a quick ad break. We'll be back.
When disaster strikes, families lose everything in an instant. Homes destroyed, communities displaced. Hope fades into uncertainty. Our Global Emergency Fund ensures we respond without delay, delivering food, water, shelter, and healthcare to families in need. To support our Global Emergency Fund, visit islamicrelief.org.za.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Hey, Gulam.
Yeah?
Did I return your lawnmower last month?
No, bye, you didn't.
Oh, no. Now what'll I do? I wanted to borrow it again, man.
With Rached Jewelers, you won't have to borrow or lend because the prices are so well trimmed on all gold and diamond jewelry. Alternatively, we could remake your old jewelry into a brilliant new design. Visit Rached Jewelers at 151 Stevens Lamini Road, Musgrave, Durban. Rached Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
Are you banking with convenience, transparency, and flexibility? With Al Barakah Bank's transactional banking account, you can enjoy convenient everyday banking designed around your needs. Benefit from zero fees on point-of-sale transactions and manage your banking easily through Al Barakah's secure mobile banking app and internet banking platform. From everyday payments to managing your personal or business banking, Al Barakah makes banking simple, transparent, and convenient. Visit albarakah.co.za to learn more. Al Barakah, your partner bank. Al Barakah Bank Limited is an authorized financial services and credit provider.
It's a new beginning. It's a new era. Salam Media, humanitarian journalism.
Well, we continue our discussion with the daughter of Sheikh Rached Ghannouchi, Dr. Yusra Ghannouchi, and I'm just looking at some of the comments that have come through on social media talking about Sheikh Rached being Tunisia's wise Islamic thinker who helped guide his country's democratic transition during the Arab Spring or after the Arab Spring, and also referring to his sentencing as an appalling act of injustice, a new low in Tunisia's descent into tyranny, the most important pro-democracy Muslim scholar in the Muslim world. Sheikh Rached Ghannouchi was sentenced to life in prison by a fake judge in a fake courtroom in Tunis yesterday. Now, Dr. Yusra, these are the sentiments that are coming through on social media, which obviously gives you a lot of hope because there are people who care. And I recall when you came to South Africa to raise the plight of your father, his incarceration, the imprisonment as well. There was just so much that you shared with us and to share light. But I think more important constantly in terms of mobilization, that one cannot be blind to the oppression, to the injustices on the African continent, and for us particularly here in South Africa, that always talk about human rights, we talk about justice. This is something that we on the African continent should take notice of as well, but also in terms of supporting, and speaking out, which is exactly what this broadcast is all about as well, to speak out against these injustices.
Absolutely, because I know there are so many, wars and ongoing genocide and injustices around the world, which perhaps makes a situation like Tunisia, fall off the radar. But I appreciate your invitation and this realization that everything is connected. And we must never stay silent or turn a blind eye to any injustice. What's happening in Tunisia. Tunisia, might be a small country at the other end of South Africa, or of the other end of the continent. But what's happening in Tunisia, the resurgence of authoritarianism and the rise of populism is indicative of a pattern that's taking place across the continent and across the region and across the world, we must continue to condemn this wherever it happens.
Dr. Yusra, it's just natural to express your concern, and I'm sure there are huge concerns, being his daughter and as a family in terms of his well-being, because I think the last time we spoke as well, there were huge concerns. I mean, he's obviously, getting on in life as well, but there are concerns about his well-being. What more can you, as his daughter and as a family, do at this point in time?
Like you said, although, as I said, this is not the first time he's sentenced to prison or the first time he's sentenced to life imprisonment, it's still painful to hear such news. You never get used to receiving such news about your father, particularly as it resurrects the same memories of this. As a child, hearing your father being sentenced to life imprisonment, at the same time, obviously, that's mixed with pride that my father, despite his age, despite being striving for democracy and freedom and suffering imprisonment and exile for over 60 years. At the same time, we are, as his family, we are very concerned about his well-being. My father will turn 85 in 2 weeks. And obviously, at that age, he requires special care, special, health care. He suffers from a number of conditions. Recently, he was taken to the hospital and remained there for a number of days, and we were very concerned for his well-being. This can happen at any time. But we continue, and he continues to say that he is not a victim. He is paying the price that must be paid to defend freedom and democracy, and he is willing to pay the full price if that's what's required. But we call on all those who share this belief in freedom and democracy to not to remain silent, to continue to call for his release and that of hundreds of other political prisoners in Tunisia. The fact that he is arbitrarily detained has now been decided by the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention. 2 months ago, it issued a decision that Rached Ghannouchi has been arbitrarily detained and that his detention is unjust, and called for his immediate release. So we hope that there will be similar calls for his release. There will be constant pressure on the Tunisian authorities to release him. As I said, my father is boycotting the judicial proceedings because he believes there is no justice. And he believes that just as his arrest was a political decision, his release will be a political decision made by the Tunisian authorities when there is enough pressure put on them, or when these authorities change. And there is a conviction growing in Tunisia that things must change in Tunisia, not only because of all this injustice and systematic violations of human rights, but because the authorities have proven to have completely failed at delivering on their promises. And the current conditions in Tunisia now, the state of dissatisfaction and anger is similar to how it was before the revolution in 2011.
And also, I'm certain that, he's being seen as an icon and a symbol of, and this is in his DNA as well, a life of sacrifice, a life of struggle. And you think one cannot actually shy away from this. One cannot actually take that away from him as well. But also, I think just looking at it from a family, we are human. At the end of the day, we have that emotional bond. He is your biological father. He is your blood, and you are his blood as well. Just when last were you or the family in contact with your father? When last did you see your father?
That was in 2021, before the coup, because I live abroad, and after the coup in 2021, my father has not traveled outside Tunisia, so I was not able to see him directly since the coup in 2021. Obviously, we were in contact by phone, etc., until his arrest in April 2023. My mother has only been able to visit him once in prison, because of the conditions imposed on the visits, which my father rejects, because he is required to go through the conditions which he sees as unnecessary and humiliating, of having no privacy during the visits, of the visitor having to sit behind double glass obstacles and having guards sitting there. In Tunisia, prisoners, not only political prisoners, any prisoner has the right to apply for direct visits, i.e. sitting in a room. And that was only granted to my father once. So my mother and my sister were only able to see him in the first week of his arrest. That's in April 2023. The authorities have insisted on these conditions. Also, in prison itself, he is isolated from anyone, from his colleagues or friends, other political prisoners. And this is also another form of trying to, break his will. There are also many other restrictions in prison, but my father's a very patient man. He's always been very optimistic. And even after he heard the news of the latest sentence against him, it did not affect him. He said he expected it. He even expected worse, because the charges, although they have no basis, they could carry a death sentence. So he was completely calm and patient, and he was smiling. And he said that just as previous governments that had sentenced him to life imprisonment have gone, the same will happen with the current judges and the current authorities that have tried to break his will using these sentences.
Well, certainly. And I think, coming for a statement like this from an 85-year-old who's been in prison for so long really actually speaks volumes. But Dr. Yusra, once again, we thank you We say Jazakallah to you for coming on and, sharing what you have with us. And I know it's a difficult time. It's not easy, but you are in our prayers. Your family is in our du'as as well, your father as well. And we will continue as well, highlighting his plight, inshallah. But for now,
I
we
really
wish
appreciate
you
it.
strength.
Thank you.
We wish you patience as well, because this is obviously required at a time like this. But I'm sure the struggle continues.
Ameen. Thank you very much.
No
Assalamu
problem.
alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Dr. Yusra Ghannouchi, the daughter of Sheikh Rached Ghannouchi, with us this morning against the news that we learned yesterday. Sheikh Rached Ghannouchi, once again, the court sentencing him to life. And we need to continue, as we've seen in South Africa, we've seen on the African continent that there have been many, many leaders that have actually stood out, the likes of our own Nelson Mandela. And again, we have on the African continent Dr. Rached Ghannouchi, who is an icon and a symbol of struggle, of sacrifice. And at the end of the day, this is about democracy for his people, for the people of Tunisia. The time is just gone 10:45. We've got a live in-studio interview coming up.